I believe that Andy Ruiz Jr. has absolutely destroyed his own career, and we're going to go through it today. Obviously, in a few weeks' time, August 3rd, Andy Ruiz will be going up against Jarrell Miller on the Riyadh USA card, which is going to be very exciting. And I might be making this video a bit premature, and it might have been best if I made this after the Jarrell Miller fight, but I'm very confident that Andy Ruiz will lose to Jarrell Miller. I really am. So I feel like I'm going to make this now and explain why I believe Andy Ruiz has completely destroyed his career, especially in the build-up to the fight with Jarrell Miller happening in a few weeks' time. So, yeah, let's go to Andy Ruiz's box track and we will go through this all now. So, oh, I don't want that there. Right, here we go. So, obviously, fighting Jarrell Miller very soon. Jarrell Miller, he's been trying to be as active as possible. Obviously, he hasn't fought since December. But to be fair, that's not too long ago. Had lost to Dubois, but he had a few fights on the run-up to that fight, which was him keeping active. Now, obviously, Miller's coming off a loss. So, he's taken 7 months out, and that's a good time to take out after a loss, come back against a decent opponent and try and win that fight. Miller's done the right thing. He stayed active, took a loss, taken a bit of time out. Now he's coming back right into it. It makes all the sense in the world for him. For Andy Ruiz Jr., ever since this Anthony Joshua defeat, it's just gone all wrong. Well, should we say that since the Anthony Joshua win? I mean, let's be real. He was so, ridiculously hungry, no pun intended, but he was so hungry going into that fight against Anthony Joshua. Like that was an opportunity to completely change his life. And he did so. Andy Ruiz Jr. completely changed his life. He got a big following, lots more sponsors behind him, so much money from that Joshua fight for the world titles. He became world champion, went into the rematch against Joshua knowing the paycheck from Saudi Arabia especially would be absolutely massive. So, the hunger just went down in Andy Ruiz, to be fair. Not him being fat, but obviously fight-wise. But yeah, I mean, it just completely took him off the rails, really, Andy Ruiz Jr. He came into the Anthony Joshua second fight ridiculously overweight, and we thought like him coming to the first fight was bad, but Jesus Christ, he came into it ridiculously overweight. Going into that Anthony Joshua second fight, it was like 20-odd stone or something. Anthony Joshua came in at like 16 stone, so he was very light going to that fight. As good as Anthony Joshua was that night, Ruiz just did not care about going into that fight whatsoever. He just stayed out partying, probably barely trained, and just ate way too much and, gained too much weight than he 100% should have. So it was not good for him going into that rematch with Anthony Joshua at all. The success completely got to his head, and that's not good at all. Like, boxers who know and who get the success, like, someone like Anthony Joshua, doesn't let the success really get to his head. And that's how he's been able to succeed and do his thing. But Ruiz, that's how Anthony Joshua became a two-time champ. Didn't let his success get to his head, didn't get the loss get to his head, and he was able to come back and become a two-time champ. With Andy Ruiz Jr., we look after this Anthony Joshua fight. He took about a year and a half out, came back in May 2021 after December 2019 against Anthony Joshua, against Chris Arreola, got dropped in that fight, and just did not look great. He stunk out the place, to be fair. Andy Ruiz Jr. went the distance with Chris Arreola, who, let's be real, was basically past it. Ruiz should have been KOing that guy. Ruiz is a former unified world champ. Like, you've got to be doing a job on someone like Chris Arreola. And that was not ideal. And also, the way he's taken so ridiculously long out after that loss to Chris Arreola, I just don't think it's the best mindset, to be fair. Like, you should try and get right back in there, get training, get out a few months later, kind of what Miller's doing after the Dubois feat. Don't take too long out. But Ruiz took too long out, had so much ring rust, and was just ridiculously sloppy. And, taking so much time out as a professional athlete isn't going to do you good, especially when you're in combat sport. It's not going to do you good taking so long out. Like, it just shows that he just didn't really care. Then since then, he's fought against Luis Ortiz, and again, it's like Ruiz was like, or Ortiz was like 43 going to that fight or something. And again, Ruiz was slugging it out against Luis Ortiz. He was slugging it out. And, I know Ortiz is no easy opponent whatsoever, but let's be real though. Ruiz has achieved a lot more in his career than what Luis Ortiz has. And, Ruiz should be doing better than that. I thought Ruiz should have been. Ruiz dropped him twice in that fight. I feel like could have pushed harder for a stoppage there. But again, it's like the fight and desire just kind of seemed to leave Andy Ruiz Jr. in that fight. And he just didn't have that killer instinct like he did back in that Anthony Joshua fight. And that was a shame to see from Andy Ruiz Jr. And, it's not good. I think, September 2022, that fight happened. And it's just wasn't great from Ruiz. Stunk out the arena again, and it just wasn't good enough from Andy Ruiz Jr. That's the thing. Just was not good enough. But again, though, like we look after this, like we look a bit further back now at obviously him losing to Joseph Parker. Took time out against Joseph Parker. Took 2 years out, basically, like a year and a half out after that loss to Joseph Parker. And, again, after that loss, took over a year out. And again, like, just came back in an 8-rounder. Did his thing there, though. Obviously, beat Kevin Johnson, then beat, I can't say that name, beat Alexander. Then, obviously, got that shot against Anthony Joshua as a stepping opponent when, it was not really expected whatsoever. So, I don't know. Again, like, I just think, he's just been so ridiculously inactive in his career, takes too much time out. And that's what's cost Andy Ruiz Jr. He's been eating way too much, especially, and we already thought it was bad, but it's just not looking great. And I hope he beats Miller. I really want Andy Ruiz Jr. to beat Jarrell Miller, but Miller's the one who has the passion for the sport now, and it just seems like when you take so long out, it's reasonable for the fans to doubt your fight and desire for the sport now, especially those last 2 performances you've had where it's like there's no killer instinct there to finish the fight. You don't look as passionate. In those fights, and that's the thing. And same as the Joshua fight, like Ruiz was just there to take the payday, really. Like, let's be real, in that second fight, he was just there to take that payday. Unlike the first fight where he knew, this is my opportunity, I'm going to do it. But it's like Andy Ruiz then thought after that, I've already achieved my dreams. Who cares? It's the next Anthony Joshua fight. It's just whatever. So, and that's not a good attitude to have when you're a champ or now a former world champ. And, since then, you'd expect a former world champ to be right back in there going right back at it, staying active, having that champion's mentality. But Andy Ruiz just seems to lack that massively. And that's a shame. But yeah, anyway, that's all my thoughts on it. Thanks for watching this video, King. I'll just speak to you in a bit. Thanks for watching. Peace out.